This podcast is sponsored by nobody. Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the LA 80s themed horror sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today, I will be welcoming back my good friend Catherine Cyr. She hasn't been on here since December of 2020. She was going to come back on last month and make it 4 years officially, but now it's going to be 4.5 years officially. She's coming on for the seventh time, and we're going to nerd out on the entertainment of our youth. We're going to talk about film, television, and music. You guys know the drill. She is my first returning guest nerd out of 2025. I did a nerd out with Beth Ward yesterday, and I did one with Vicki Abelson last week, but she's the first returning guest nerd out that I'm doing for 2025, and I am so excited. Haven't talked to Catherine in a while. I like to catch up with her and see, what's going on and stuff. And it's going to be fun. It's always fun talking to Catherine Cyr. Also, my friends and frequent guests, Marie Lauren and Clara Gabrielle, have lost their homes in the Altadena fire. Please go donate to their GoFundMe. Marie's boyfriend's daughter, Sarah Cassandra, started the GoFundMe page. They are at $8,905. That's what's been raised so far. So please keep donating, people. They're just awesome, awesome people, and I love them and adore them affectionately. Also, rest in peace, Sam Moore, the soul man himself of Sam and Dave, one of Atlantic's finest. He was revered and loved by so many in the music business. Sing with the angels, Sam. Thanks for the music. So yeah, here is my new interview with Catherine Cyr. Hey, Catherine, welcome back. How are you, love?
Oh, super crazy busy. Hold on, I'll turn up my audio a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good. It's just I've been really busy because I had to do a big move
Yeah.
with my office. So
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
I just
2025 is just off to a crazy start with those fires in LA. God.
yeah. I mean, I'm very upset. They're getting pretty close to the house I grew up in, but not there yet. But
Uh,
a friend of mine from when I was in middle school lost his house in Topanga when
hmm
he and I were like both 13,
Oh God.
and he just lost his house in the Palisades. So, but
I know someone who lost their elementary school right now.
yeah,
God.
it's just crazy. It's very upsetting. But other than him, I mean, lots of people obviously have lost their houses, but as far as I know, of the people I know still down there, he's the only one.
Yeah, let's just hope tomorrow there'll be 100% containment for all involved, hopefully.
Oh, okay. I heard that the winds might pick up tonight and that they were concerned about that. So,
I hope not. I hope that's just a prediction.
well, Cal Fire too. I've been telling people go to Cal Fire. That's got the most accurate information, and also it will give you information on, for instance, if you click on the Palisades fire, it
hmm
will tell you about resources for you as
Okay.
well.
So, going back in time, do you remember the first movie that impacted you as a child?
Oh yeah, probably Dawn of the Dead, or
Ah,
I'm sorry, Night of the Living Dead.
okay.
I still I still watch that every year with my brother. He and I loved horror films when we were kids, and so
Yeah.
Night of the Living Dead was a good one.
Oh God, yeah. I mean, Back to the Future was the
So
first movie that impacted me because I always had that fantasy of going back in time and seeing my parents in high school and finding out why they're so fucked up and why I'm so fucked up, you know?
so Back to the Future for you then.
Yeah. I mean, the first movies that they showed me were like The Shining when I was like a year old, and that fucked me up. And strangely enough, I became a huge horror buff later. I went back and rewatched The Shining when I was 7, and it became my go-to horror movie every Halloween. I watched it this past Halloween, in fact, and I love Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead and God, Halloween, Friday the 13th, the original, and I love a lot of the sequels too.
Yeah, except Halloween 3. I saw that a couple years ago because I
Uh
thought, well, I've never seen it. And I'm like, this is a waste of celluloid. It was
huh.
terrible.
There's no Michael Myers.
So,
There's no Michael Myers in that
no,
one.
it was the one. It was the one where it's a Shamrock Costume Company or something.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with Michael Myers. They did like this weird
No.
offshoot, and it was terrible.
Back in those days,
Yeah.
movie studios would fuck with the formula of horror movies just so they could end them because they thought, okay, if we fuck with the formula, people won't go see them. But then ironically, people went to go see them, and then they had to make more, because they were trying to end the series by fucking with the formula. Same with Nightmare on Elm Street 2.
Really?
Nobody became Freddy in any of the Friday movie in any of the Nightmare movies except for Part Two. They were trying to end it because Wes Craven didn't want to be involved in a sequel, and then he came back for three, and then he's like, "That's it, I'm not doing it anymore." And then whatever happened. And the same thing with Friday the 13th part 7. There was a supernatural thing with that one that had never been in the series before. They were trying to end the series, and it just kept going because people wanted to come see them.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things I hate that the studios do though, like when The Walking Dead was doing really good,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly it's like, oh, we got to do zombie films. That's what people like. It's like, no, it was well written and well acted. That's why people liked it, and they don't understand that. They've been doing this for, when that whole thing with Twilight got big, suddenly there was like a million vampire shows on, and it's like,
Yeah.
no, no. Although I have to admit, I saw Twilight
Mm-hmm.
after I read the book because my friend said it was really good.
Mm-hmm.
It was not good.
Yeah.
And I thought, fine. And another person said, well, you have to see the movie. I saw the movie. It was not good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I never liked the Twilights at all, but
Yeah.
horror and comedy were like my two genres I gravitated toward as a kid. What were yours?
Well, again, when I was a kid, I mean, of course, we watched things like Speed Racer and Bugs Bunny, which I still watch some of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But we did like horror films, me and my older brother. And I'm older than you, so when we were watching, we saw Vincent Price in so many different things.
Yeah.
And he's still, I mean, some of the movies are just terrible, but you still like him.
Did you know at the
And,
height? Oh, sorry to interrupt. Did you know
I know.
at the height of Vincent Price's popularity as a horror star, he starred in a Western movie?
Oh, he did a lot of other stuff even before that. But yes, I
Yeah.
remember him in the original Fly,
Yes.
and he had a minor role in that. But I remember him in Mask of the Red Death and The Wax Museum and
Mm-hmm.
just so many of those films.
Yeah, but like, yeah, oh yeah, because I know
Yeah.
he did the Keys of the Kingdom with Gregory Peck, but like I'm saying at the height of his stardom as a horror guy, he did a western called The Jackals, and it was kind of like a high noon type of a low budget western. It takes place in like one location in a single day kind of a thing, and it's like wow. I mean, back then they would have what they called tax write-off movies, where if they had a movie that hit the box office, they would say, let's make movies to throw them away just so we can get a tax write-off. I believe The Jackals with Vincent Price was one of them because there's no way that they believed in that movie.
Oh yeah, they used to do that with bands too. But I
Yeah,
think what they were doing, and I think what the studio is doing when they
yeah.
do that, is they funnel some of the costs from something that they believed in and try to put it toward that to make it
Hmm.
the tax write-off.
Do you-
So I think that they fudge the numbers on those, but
yeah.
that's just my personal belief. I could be wrong.
Do you actually remember though when like The Exorcist and Texas Chainsaw Massacre were in the theater and people were just terrified of them?
I wasn't, but The Exorcist is still a great film. I saw The New Omen when I see a lot of stuff at home, just you know, like everybody else going to the theater. It's easier to watch at home. But The New Omen, I thought they did a really good job with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, but the original, again, is just fabulous.
The Omen, the original Omen will always be
And
a masterpiece.
the Halloween series, other than that
Yeah.
episode 3, and then it was what was it, Freddy versus Jason? So that
Yeah.
was Freddy and Friday the 13th merge. I never saw that one either.
It's good. The only thing I don't like about it is that Kane Hodder didn't play Jason, and that was only because the director didn't want Kane. He wanted someone who was a little less intimidating next to Freddy, because he believed that Freddy was more evil than Jason. I don't know if I agree with that, but it's possible.
Well, of course, his mom is the killer in the first movie.
Yep. Yep.
So,
You can't replace Betsy Palmer though. She's been dead for a decade now, and she was terrifying as Jason's mother. She just had that looks innocent but also looks so evil look about her, and she just looks like she's capable of violence from the moment you see her, you know.
what about Piper Laurie and Carrie? I thought she was amazing.
I think she was great too. But like I don't know, Betsy Palmer had this look about her, like you could tell right away that she's the killer. But the Piper Laurie, oh my God! So back in 2017, when I went to Monster Palooza, they were having a Carrie reunion. They had Bill Catt and Nancy Allen, and for some reason PJ Souls was not invited to that one, but Piper Laurie was, but she was sick, and so sadly I never got to meet Piper Laurie because she never did a con after that. Like that was it. Like she was sick, and of course she died a year or so ago, and I was so disappointed I didn't get to meet her.
Yeah. I actually met PJ Souls a long time ago,
You told, oh yeah, you told
completely
me,
by accident.
yeah, oh yeah, you
Yeah, I
told.
was going to dress up as Riff Randall, and
Hmm.
I didn't. And she was dating a guy in some band that my friend was a friend of at the time. This is after she was she married to Dennis Quaid?
Yes, she was married to Dennis Quaid.
Yeah. So this is after the divorce. But anyway, she looked great. She was very nice.
Hmm. I um
But
I interviewed.
I
Oh, go ahead.
yeah. I know. I just wish I'd dressed up as Riff Randall. That's all. I just couldn't pull it together.
I interviewed the president of the Beatles fan club, Debbie Gendler. She was that 13-year-old girl that was on the Ed Sullivan show Monitor during their performance of I Want to Hold Your Hand. And she told me PJ was in the club with her. They went to high school together in New Jersey. And I was like, wow, really? And then she tried to get PJ to write a foreword for her book that came out a year ago, and her management declined her. And I thought that was so odd. And then, like, she told me she, like, friend requested her on Facebook and she denied it. I was like, wow. I don't know. She must have really pissed her off or something. But, like, I thought that was pretty interesting because it shows you PJ really was Riff Randall, but for the Beatles, you know?
It's interesting. I can't. I don't know if her friend, like
Hmm.
you said, did something to upset her, but
Yeah.
sometimes, and I don't think she's that big where she has people handling everything all the time now. But
Yeah.
maybe,
Oh no,
they
she's
just
got like a
assume, oh, it's just some fan, and they're like deny, not realizing it's somebody she knows.
well, she's got a convention manager, but I like, when I got her on the podcast, it was through her directly because I met her at Monster Palooza right after that, after she wasn't invited to the first one that year. But yeah, I just thought that was kind of funny. She really was Riff Randall, but for the Beatles and stuff. And she didn't become a Ramones fan until she met them and did that movie. And then after that, she became a Ramones fan. Um,
Yeah.
I was born in '83. My brother was born in '73, so he recorded everything off HBO. We had all the teen sex comedy movies like Porky's and Animal House and Private School. We had John Hughes movies like Mr. Mom and Breakfast Club and Weird Science. You know, did you guys have HBO like in the early years?
Well, again, I'm older than you, so the thing that we had way back in the day was Channel Z, like Zebra.
Yes, yes. I did not know that channel existed until just in the last few years. Like everybody I met from LA, like knew that channel and stuff, and I've looked it up. It looks kind of cable accessy, you know, in hindsight and stuff. But like all the movies and TV shows we love were on there apparently.
Yeah, my older brother videotaped the Rocky Horror Picture Show off of that.
Wow.
So we had this is before it got really big when they were doing it
Mm-hmm.
in the because when it first came out, it flopped,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And then when I was older, I was able to go to the theater, you know, where they're throwing the, you know, Great Scott, everybody throws the toilet paper. At the wedding, they're throwing rice. They're,
Yeah.
you know, it was pretty crazy. But it
That,
was fun. The only thing I remember about Rocky Horror, though, is people would be fighting, well, I'm a better magenta than so-and-so. And I'm like, oh, dear God, people, you know.
did they cut?
But it's like any other fan thing. Sometimes fans get a little
Yeah.
crazy.
Did they cut foul language and nudity out of the Z channel?
No, but then after that, I think came Cinemax.
Yeah.
So, and I think that that one, because I believe that predated HBO, I think.
Yeah.
So,
What kind of comedy did you like growing up? Like as far as movies, did you like Mel Brooks or Neil Simon or Woody Allen or Blake Edwards?
oh my God, I love Mel Brooks. I love Blake Edwards. My favorite movie probably is still The Great Race.
Yes.
Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and also Young Frankenstein. I just love that film too.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Mel Brooks is still with us, which is great,
Yeah.
you know.
He's gonna be
But, yeah.
99 this year. Can you believe that? 99. I mean, I don't know what's in the water he drinks. I mean, that is wonderful. Look at all his buddies, you know, who have passed in the last decade. But like him, 99. That's just like, oh my God. It's hard to imagine.
Well, I think laughter is the best medicine. I mean, look at Betty White. She,
Hmm.
just a few weeks shy of her 100, you know.
George Burns. You know, George Burns died at 100 just 2 months later after he turned 100. He was so sick he couldn't make his 100th birthday performance that he was going to do.
Uh, yeah, that's true. Your health does matter, but it seemed at least that Betty White was in pretty good health still.
Hmm.
She went in her sleep. But again, you can only expect your body to go so long. I mean,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Wow, that's cool
there's
that
that
you.
multimillionaire trying to reverse aging. I can't think of his name right now, but it's like, really, he wants to live forever. I'm like, why? But
That's cool. You like the Great Race. My dad saw that at the drive-in when he was 8 years old in 1965, and Natalie Wood was like his first crush, and he passed that crush on down to me. I was actually supposed to interview her sister Lana Wood today, and then something happened. I think she's in L.A. I don't know if she's involved in the fires or not, but we're going to reschedule. But that's cool. Look, the Great Race. Oh my God, that movie is so wacky and so epic. At the time, it didn't do well, but now it's considered to be one of Blake Edwards' classics and one of the best movies that Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis, and Natalie Wood ever did.
yeah, Jack Lemmon is one of my all-time favorite actors.
Yeah.
Uh, and you can see the Hannibal Twin 8 at the Peterson Automobile Museum, which is over on Wilshire, if I remember right. I got to see that a number of years ago before I left LA, and I was like, the Hannibal Twin 8, yes.
Oh my God.
Um,
What other Jack Lemmon movies you like? The Apartment.
well, I liked The Apartment. I liked The Odd Couple, but he did so many other things. I even loved him in Grumpy Old Men.
Of
You
course,
know,
of course.
but
Um,
but probably my favorite one is Some Like It Hot, and of
yeah,
course The Great Race. Are I think my two favorite performances that he did.
I like the Days of Wine and Roses. I think he should have won an Academy Award for that, even though he won for Mr. Roberts and the Save the Tiger. I think he should have won for the Days of Wine and Roses because he wasn't really acting. He really was an alcoholic, and he used everything that he went through in that performance. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I had heard him. Um, he had done this interview, and obviously a great number of years ago. And I can't remember who the actor was. It might have been Toby Maguire or somebody like that.
Hmm.
And they'd come to him for advice, and he did the best he could to advise him. He says, "Look, you got to help those people that are up and coming. They need some guidance." And he goes, and it was my pleasure to give him what information I could
Hmm.
about how to be a better actor and how to get better roles. And I thought that's really nice that he's not looking at people like they're beneath him. He
Right.
had a desire to help, and I thought that was just great of him.
Oh, dude, I heard he did once. Um, when he did Save the Tiger, he worked with the director John G. Avildsen, and that guy had a reputation for being replaced on movies because he didn't get along with a lot of the leading actors, right? So Burt Reynolds goes to make a movie with Avildsen called WW and the Dixie, what's it called, the Dixie Dance Kings, and he
Yeah.
Burt asks Jack Lemmon. He says, "What was it like working with John G. Avildsen?" He said, "It was great." And so he goes to make that movie, and then he comes back to L.A. and he sees Lemon, and he's like, "Why didn't you tell me that guy was an asshole?" And then he's just like shrugs. I don't know, And I heard later that Jack Lemmon was the kind of guy who never said anything ill about anybody.
Yeah. Hey, you know a lot about movies. My gosh, wow.
Of course, that's why I do this podcast. I'm a historian. I'm at the point in my life now where I've gone from fanboy to historian, where like I can just give you so many anecdotes about so many different things. I mean, my mom, she worked for the cable company. I was a latchkey kid. We all had everybody in my family has some sort of show business background as a showbiz failure, as I like to say, and it's kind of passed on down to me as a failed comedian and stuff. But like, it's always been a part of my life. Like me and my grandmother, we'd watch old black and white movies from her era, and she'd take me to the library, and I like wanted to read biography books about the old movie stars, and of course. A&E biography came in an E True Hollywood Story. So then I went from the books to that. Then the internet came, and then I've been on the internet ever since. Learning about stuff, even if it's not accurate. It's always been ingrained in me.
Well, I mean, I'm like that too. My husband hates it when I watch old black and white movies, but
Why?
because I'm all over genre wise
Mm-hmm.
in general. But at the same time, I like to read biographies too. I don't know if you've ever thought about doing this, but you never know. There was AJ Benza. I
Oh
think he was
yeah.
doing the E True Hollywood Story
No,
or the
no.
I forget.
E Mysteries and Scandals.
Oh, okay, that's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
But and then Tom Hatton, of course,
Yeah.
was around for a number of years.
Yeah.
Maybe you could get into that.
We'll see.
The other thing I know too is in LA, I was going to do some volunteer work, but uh, I had done some volunteer work in general. But one of the things I signed up for was to go over and help them with restoring some of the old celluloid films.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I had a scheduling mix up with them, and so I never got over there.
Oh.
So, or rather, I got over there on the wrong day. So,
How about Charlie Chaplin? Were you ever into Charlie Chaplin?
oh yeah, I watch silent films definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I liked Harold Lloyd,
Oh yeah, it's funny. I
and
never saw a Harold Lloyd movie until recently. I listened to an interview his granddaughter did. She said he was so anti-TV, he never signed away his movies to television, and he owned all his movies. And, they were never on home video and stuff. It's like he screwed himself out of generations of fans, loving his work. How did you see his movies?
Oh gosh, probably the internet.
Okay.
I'm trying to think how I did see them because, and
Hmm.
also it's possible that my dad had a VHS or something like that,
Okay.
but I only saw a little bit of it.
Okay.
But I liked his work. He was the one too that he did that famous scene where he's was he hanging off a Big Ben and he make his hair all
Yes,
stick up.
safe. It was called
I
Safety
think that was
Last.
good.
It was called Safety Last, and in Back to the Future, when Christopher Lloyd's hanging off the clock tower, it was based on that, and it was just ironic that his name was Lloyd too.
I never thought about that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Safety Last. That was 1923. God, that's just a scary thought. 1923.
Yeah, it is. I mean, and I do like the Three Stooges though. I do watch them occasionally.
Oh, good.
Um, I used to watch Little Rascals. I mean, I'm all over the place.
I don't. I don't
To
mean.
me, a good film
Mhm.
is a good film, no matter when it was made.
I don't meet women often who are into the Three Stooges. And when I was growing up, my dad grew up watching them on cable. My grandfather had seen them in the theaters. He passed that down on to my dad and my uncles. So it's like a Kovac family tradition. We're all Three Stooges guys in our family, and like I own every short on DVD. They have like a huge Walmart collection of every Three Stooges short, and it's in good quality too. And I have it and I cherish it.
Yeah, I know. It's a kind of it's just like girls supposedly don't like Monty Python. And when I was younger,
Hmm.
my older brother was really into Monty Python, but he got me into it. I love Monty Python.
Me too. The Holy Grail, that's my favorite one. And I've never been able to find anybody from it for an interview. This year it turns 50. Who knows? Maybe I'll get somebody.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah. So, how many interviews have you done now? What number are you up to?
Right now, you're my 2280th.
Wow. I think this could be something,
Yeah.
not just to look back on, but then something that would, in the future, have people be interested in.
Yeah.
So
It's
keep the
been
ball rolling.
it's been amazing, I'll tell you. I mean, the people that I've gotten, and it's just been. I just every day I'm pinching myself about this. It's just it's fantastic, is what it is. And sometimes certain people I interview will die, and I'll be a little insecure and go, God, did we get the perfect interview? Should I have done another one with them afterwards? And like my friend Kristen Frisk, who was a very funny comedian, she died last year. We did 5 really good podcasts together, and each one was more dirtier than the last. And when I went back and listened to the 5th one we did, the last one, I forgot how heavy and serious it got in the last 20 minutes when she was opening up to me. And so I'm satisfied with it, even though the first, 40 minutes is dirty, the last 20 minutes was really deep and insightful, so I'm happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm amazed when I see you posting who you've interviewed or who you're about to interview. You definitely have a huge collection there.
Hmm.
But I don't know if you should view yourself also as a failed comedian. I mean, you can always pick up the ball and go back on the field, so to speak.
I could, but I just don't like the drama and like all the rumors and bullshit and all that stuff. I can't do it. Maybe if I was to do like a one man show type of a situation and getting theaters to let me use their stage, that would be one thing. But like to just go up every night at open mics, it's not something that's appealing to me anymore.
Well, then, yeah, I hear you. And I haven't done anything since last December.
Mm.
I was supposed to do something in May, but my brother suddenly lost his wife, so I had to drop out.
Oh
But
shit.
and school has kept me from doing it. But in 6 months, actually not even in the 6 months, in 5 months, I'm done. So.
That's awesome that you
But I
got
am
that.
going down to LA on the 16th. We'd already booked this at
Uh-huh.
the LA Connection, this show. And it's funny because Lavon Godfrey is doing the
Mm-hmm.
Restraining Order comedy tour. And she
I like that.
has started. Yeah,
Yeah.
she books her own venues, and that way it's her way. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh yeah, she's always up late saying working on my dream, Maine.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. But
Yeah.
she said that she had a lot of bad blood with some people as well. I haven't experienced it, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, maybe because I'm not out there enough. I have no idea.
Yeah, you're a drama avoider, so I can't imagine you having drama with anybody.
Well, everybody's always been so nice and supportive. But again, like I said, that wasn't always her experience, so I
Mm-hmm.
can't speak for anybody else other than myself, really. But
Yeah.
it should be an inclusive community and supportive. Um,
Yeah.
but I guess some people just, I don't know.
Yeah.
So she had put this together, and I know she wanted to do it free with a Medi-Cal card, but now I'm hoping we can do something for the fire victims.
I hope
So, because
so.
she booked this like weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
or actually more like months ago.
So, getting into television, like what sitcoms did you watch growing up?
Well, some of it we definitely watched the Brady Bunch, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we watch something stupid like Gilligan's Island, and I remember as I started getting older, I really didn't like most sitcoms except
Yeah.
for I liked Night Court when it came out.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Trying to think what else. Oh, I like Cheers. I like Seinfeld. I still watch occasionally Seinfeld, but my favorite stuff to watch now is like Family Guy and South Park.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I mean, I grew up.
um,
I watched a lot of sitcoms that started like a couple years before I started, but I was watching them when they were heavily syndicated, like Give Me a Break and The Facts of Life and Different Strokes, Laverne and Shirley, Happy Days, Mork and Mindy, MASH, WKRP in Cincinnati. I love those shows.
I think I watched just about every one of those. I didn't watch WKRP, and I didn't see too much of Give Me a Break with Nell Carter, but I knew who she was and I knew about the show. But
Mm-hmm.
you know, um, and then I remember when I was young, Dallas came out, and that was the first time. I think it was on a Friday night.
Mm-hmm.
They had decided to switch like a soap opera style thing,
Yeah.
and then the whole Who Shot JR thing and whatever. But oh, and then that got replaced by the X Files too, because I used to watch Fantasy Island too. I think it was Friday night. It was Fantasy Island and Dallas. Never on any Knots Landing or a few of the other ones I can't think of right now, but the X Files was great. I really loved that when it first came out.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny how the arc of sitcoms changed from the 50s to the 70s. Because in the 50s, you had all these wholesome, squeaky clean white families on TV. Father Knows Best, Leave It to Beaver. And then by the 60s, you got all these high concept fantasy shows like I Dream of Jeannie and Bewitched and Munsters, Ab's Family, F Troop, Hogan's Heroes. Then by the 70s, it becomes humanistic. Gary Marshall and Norman Lear and James L. Brooks really changed sitcoms in the 70s forever with social commentary, and it's really interesting when you look at that. And then by the 80s and 90s, you had a little bit of everything, from all those different sitcom genres before.
Yeah, that's true. I forgot about F Troop. I used to watch that occasionally and MASH.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think what else. I
Mary
mean,
Mary Tyler Moore.
definitely I Dream of Jeannie.
Yeah. I know that the I Dream of Jeannie pilot was really controversial because she showed her belly button in it, and back then you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that on TV back then. And then 2 years later, Barbara Luna and Nichelle Nichols broke that rule on Star Trek, and then that was that.
Yeah. And I Love Lucy too. I remember, she's pregnant, and
Yeah.
that was controversial to have her be pregnant on TV. It's just ridiculous.
Oh yeah, and also
I still think
couples.
it's funny that they
Uh,
had to have two beds too. They couldn't have one bed for them.
that's exactly what I was just gonna say. The couples, yeah, they couldn't be in the same bed. They had to have twin beds, which is so fucking weird.
Yep. Yep.
How about the Mary Tyler Moore Show?
Oh yeah, that and That Girl.
Yeah,
And my parents liked Laugh-In, so I was watching Laugh-In
same
and Flip
here.
Wilson back in the 60s, because again, I'm older than you. But I still remember Flip Wilson and Laugh-In. And, and like I said, I watched the standard cartoon stuff. I mean, I never liked things like Tom and Jerry or Yogi Bear. You just watch them because you were bored. I mean, for me, it was always Looney Tunes. I just loved Looney Tunes and Merry Melodies. I didn't like Woody Woodpecker. Didn't
Really?
like Felix the Cat, Gumby.
Mighty
I didn't
Mouse?
like anything as much as I liked, Bugs Bunny and everything. And I hate the Roadrunners, too. Those are boring.
You did like Mighty Mouse at least?
Not really. I mean, I watched it, but my favorite was always like Bugs Bunny or,
Wow.
Daffy Duck. That was all fine. I didn't even like Mickey and Donald all that much. I found it kind of, when I was a kid, we would watch The Wonderful World of Disney every Sunday night after we watched Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom.
Hmm.
And we'd watch things like The Living Desert and stuff like that. But there were times when Mickey Mouse was just so overdone. Even now, I think it's overdone.
Hmm.
The merchandising is crazy, and I'm just like, Steamboat Willie, big deal.
Yeah.
And it was a big deal, but at the same time, it's just, I don't know, overexposed. That's how I would.
How about the Croft Brothers shows?
Oh, like Sigmund and the Sea Monster, H.R. Puff and stuff. Yeah, I watched
Yeah.
that too,
Hmm.
definitely. Um, but again, it was always like, out of boredom.
I interviewed Sid Croft last year, or no, 2 years ago now, as I think of it.
Oh, really?
Yes, and it was a rare snow day in California, and the technical difficulties were so bad. I had to spend 12 hours editing this hour episode. It was insane, and it turned out great. He opened up to me about some stuff, and it was a good talk. I'm very proud of it. He's like 96 now or something, 95.
Oh, that's amazing. Now, you're still up in Reading, right?
Oh no, I left Reading in June of 23. I'm up in Modesto now.
Oh, okay. I don't know how I didn't know that, but
Yeah, I kind of, I mean, I told people, but I kept it on the down low. It wasn't something I needed to keep talking about on Facebook. I was just like, I'm moving, I'm happy. I don't want to live in Reading anymore, so, I left. And, it's very low key over here. I mean, it reminds me of the Bay Area in that, depending on where you go, you meet nice people, and then you meet scummy people, and then you see, lots of homeless people. It's basically the Bay Area pretty much over here.
yeah. Is your mom still up in Reading?
Oh no, we got a place up here.
Oh, so she came with you. Okay.
Oh yeah,
I know she was sick for a while. How's she doing?
she's doing better. And I mean, she has her good days and bad days, now that she turned 70 last year. But, she's good for the most part. I mean, the first couple of years that we were in Reading was just horrendous. It went from good to bad to just worse. And now, she's at kind of an elevated level of feeling better. But, getting old sucks. That's all I can say is getting old sucks. I mean, even now that I'm in my early 40s, I can feel, certain things, declining, and it's only going to get worse as time goes on.
I'd say when I hit 55, I think I noticed things definitely slowing down, things like that. Like I try to, well, I don't try to. I walk the dog every day.
Yeah.
It's really hard to drop weight, and it's super easy to gain weight, and it's, I just need to keep working on it because the opposite, or if I don't do it, then I'm going to end up starting to have health problems and things like that, and I don't want to deal with that, of course. So I'm still okay, but my doctor's like, if you don't get your act together, she goes, you're going to be looking at pre-diabetes. And I'm like, okay.
That's what I have. I got diagnosed in 22, and
really,
yeah, I gave up sugar for an entire year. Started dabbling in it when the holidays came in 23, and ever since then, I have something sweet occasionally, just not often. I mean, the ravages of diabetes haven't hit me, thank God, but I still gotta watch it.
Yeah, and my mom died from complications of diabetes, so I definitely don't want to go that route. But I've always been fairly physically active, so that part has kept me, my muscle tone isn't as good as it used to be, but it's not gone.
Yeah.
But just have to work harder at it.
Now, I've heard people die of complications of diabetes, but what are examples of what could happen?
Well, my mom, she had a heart attack, and because of hardening of the arteries. So that was not what killed her. It was the buildup of fluid in her lungs called ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome.
Oh, God.
And usually when you're an older person, my mother was only 53, you will have a backup of fluid in your lungs from a stroke and or a heart attack. But my mom was not overweight. She was in overall good health despite being a diabetic. And then she had another heart attack. They had to do an angioplasty again. And then the fluid kept building back up again, and they couldn't get it down. And
God.
she died from ARDS.
God, that's awful.
So, but she wouldn't have had a heart attack if she hadn't had the hardening of the arteries from just being diabetic. So.
Shit. That
But she was insulin dependent. Are you on the pills or insulin dependent with the injections?
I'm on metformin.
Okay. Then you're like the type, what is it, type 1, or I always get them confused.
I have type 2, but I've been taking metformin, and I'm going on 3 years now. My goal was to get off this shit last year, but depression sets in. I start eating shit that I'm not supposed to, and I get a little lazy, and I just gotta motivate myself. I'm going to a weight specialist this week, so fingers and toes crossed. I can get on a pretty good diet, and I won't have to take this shit for the rest of my life.
Yeah, and actually, I think the way to look at it isn't dieting; it's lifestyle.
Yes.
And I'm reading this book right now called "The Power of Discipline" or something.
Right.
Actually, I should tell you, but it's really interesting because it talks about how you can make anything happen if you just motivate yourself toward it. And one of the things it talked about was this young woman that wanted to make films. And she bought all the equipment, but she'd just never gotten around to doing it. And at the time of the writing of the book, she'd made, at this point, over 200 short subject films. But it was just getting started that took her years to do. For no other reason other than a fear of, learning something new, fear of not being very good at it, and things like that. And it just talks about how we mentally hold ourselves back from things that we want to accomplish.
Right.
But it's not one of those books that's super harsh. I mean, when I first started reading it, I was just like, wow, this is really interesting, the way that he's he's phrasing it better than I'm making it sound.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll get you the information on that because it's really very inspirational.
Okay, cool. I was curious
Yeah.
when you were growing up in L.A. Did you ever get to go see like a live taping of any shows?
Oh, we didn't do that much. My parents went on Let's Make a Deal,
Mm-hmm.
and then my mom had a friend that knew Susie Stafford, who was on what was that TV show? It might have been Wheel of Fortune
Mm-hmm.
before Vanna White.
Right.
And so my mom was trying to help me do something for my class, and my class was TV production.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in this lady's dressing room trying to think of what to ask her because I'm like, yeah, I'm really not studying television hosts. I'm studying um, the production itself, the production, how the show is put on.
Right.
So I was there for that, and then a friend of mine was working on Farm Club later on, and also on a mock-up game show. So I would sometimes come down from work and stand there and clap. Like she knew I liked Everclear, so when Everclear was on Farm Club,
Mm-hmm.
I think that was Matt Pinfield's show, so I went down for that. Hey,
Yeah.
kid, come on. And then I did like this other TV show that they were going to do in production called. It was something. I think it was the predecessor to Trade-ins,
Yeah.
and you show up with your ex-boyfriend or ex-girlfriend and ask questions, and they end up with somebody else, and you end up with somebody else, and you know, and that's really about it. Kid, come on, stop it. Off, off, off.
Yeah.
Oh,
I went to a taping of Conan back in 2016. It was fun, you know. I've heard that when you do a sitcom taping, you're there for 8 hours because you know they fuck up lines and they have to redo shit over and over again. It can be pretty tedious. But like if you want to go to a live taping, I recommend going to see a talk show because it's fun.
I did do Joan Rivers. I forgot about that too.
Oh, you
And
did?
her for her. Uh, yeah, yeah.
Was that when she did?
So
Was that when she did the? Was it the talk show, the first one she did, like you know after her and Carson had the feud.
exactly.
Yes, yeah, I used to watch that one. I didn't watch the other one, but the other one, Sam Kinison, like missed the taping, and it became this huge controversy because it became apparent that he went back to doing drugs again. But then just before he died, he went on the show just before the show got canceled. But yeah, I remember when Joan Rivers had her shows and stuff. She was a pioneer because she was rejected by Hollywood, and then she made a career out of making fun of Hollywood because they wouldn't let her into the circle.
Yeah, and actually, I think her daughter just said that she lost the house in the Palisades too.
Oh God,
Her daughter Melissa.
God,
So that's a drag.
yeah. Were you either a Carson or a Letterman person back in the day?
Gosh, a little bit of both, really.
Yeah,
But probably more Letterman.
yeah. I didn't get into Johnny until
Yeah.
after he was gone. When I started watching the reruns, I got into Johnny. But I was a Letterman guy. I liked Leno. I liked Conan. They were the ones I liked the most. I tried to get into Craig Ferguson. He never really appealed to me that much.
Yeah. Yeah, my mom really liked Johnny Carson, so I think that's where it stemmed from initially. But and then my older brother, of course, was really into David Letterman. He was,
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm sure he probably got me into David Letterman.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
Letterman, you know, he copied a lot of Ernie Kovacs and Steve Allen. You know, he was trying to bring it to a much more modern day audience. You know, with the hip college crowd. It was brilliant. I thought.
Yeah, except I hated Paul Schaefer.
Really?
Yeah. Couldn't stand him.
He makes me laugh.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought he was awful, but again, that's just my opinion. Obviously, you
You
know.
have to admit he's a great keyboard player, though.
Oh, I'm sure he's a great musician, but I mean, so's Phil Collins. I can't stand him either.
Yeah. Phil was my guy growing up. I just love how he made fun of himself in his music videos, and he had like a sense of fun. I mean, I heard interviews where he was a complete asshole, and stuff, but I thought he was a very talented guy, and he had a goofiness about him. I think that's why he made so much money back in the day.
Who knows? But yeah, I actually even went to go see him once because a friend of mine really wanted to see him, and so I went with her, and oh my god, it was awful. I was so bored.
Really.
I
Yeah.
actually started walking around the forum. I'm like, "You want a drink?" I'm like, "Oh, go get us drinks." And then I come back. I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the bathroom. I'll be right back." Oh, I'm gonna go. You want another drink?
Yeah. Do you remember the
And
first?
I tried to sit there.
Do you remember the first album you ever bought with your own money, or what was given to you?
Um, it was probably the Rolling Stones, Green Grass and High Tides,
Oh yeah, that's Grace Hits.
and not too long after that was Rocket to Russia.
Hmm. I know you're a big Ramones fan, like I am.
Oh God, I still love the Ramones. I love the Rolling Stones though too. Just saw them again, and Tim and I went to go see Marky. He's got a band fronting him, and they did all Ramones songs. I was in tears. I was so happy. They sounded so good.
Yeah.
They were over at the DNA Lounge in San Francisco with the Dickies, who I'd seen before, but this set was just off the hook. They were so amazing. And opening the whole thing was this band from Las Vegas called Jerk, and they were really good.
Ha, jerk. I gotta check those
Yeah,
guys
I,
out.
I really liked them a lot.
Yeah.
And then we were at the what's it called? The No Values date down in June to see Bad Religion, Social Distortion,
Okay.
Dickies, L7. It was just like amazing.
Yeah. I was an MTV kid, so like Phil Collins' "No Jacket Required" was like my first album I bought with my own birthday money, and Poison's "Look What the Cat Dragged In," because I love music videos. That was like my earliest reference point for music was music videos, and watching the, MTV and listening to my parents' vinyl records. My parents had everything on vinyl. They had the Beatles, Stones, Beach Boys, Fleetwood Mac, Rod Stewart, Captain Beefheart. I mean, there's nothing like the magic, stinky smell of musky vinyl. It's so intoxicating.
Yeah, I got rid of a lot of my vinyl, and now there's a guy out here. I just bought a really nice version of Sticky Fingers from him,
Hmm.
and I wanted to get Joan Jett's album, but the cover was all messed up. He goes, but the vinyl's perfect. And I said, no, to me, it's an entire art piece from the cover to the liner notes to, I want all that stuff.
Hmm.
So, but he's got a lot of other records that, I've still got his information, but I just know I can go over there and just blow $200 like that and come home with more vinyl.
Was that Phil Collins concert your first concert?
Oh, no, my first concert was The Who.
Oh, I saw them in
It wasn't the Rolling
2016.
Stones. I'm sorry. It might have been the Rolling Stones and then the Who.
I saw the Who in 2016. They were at the Concord Pavilion, and Pete and Roger were the only two guys left. Of course, they were doing shtick between songs. It was fun. I enjoyed watching the Who.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it was 92 for the Stones for sure.
Mhm.
And it must have been I'm sorry, 82, not 92.
No.
There's my brain. It was 82 for the Stones, and it might have been 83 for the Who. So I think it was the Rolling Stones, yeah.
No, 82 was when the Who took a long break because they did the tour in the fall, and then that was that. They didn't do any concerts in 83.
Oh, they didn't? Okay,
No,
then it must have been
you must
82 then.
you must have saw them in like December or November because that's when they were touring that year. And they even did a concert movie of it too that I used to rent called The Who Rocks America, and they were doing some of the stuff from the It's Hard album that was new, Eminence Front, and they were doing Squeeze Box and Young Man Blues and stuff like that. Yeah,
Yeah, and you know what? Maybe it was both bands in 82, come to think of it.
yeah.
But it's funny. I know with the Stones, I've got part of the ticket stub for that from Ticketron.
Mm-hmm.
I saved all my ticket stubs for all the shows I went to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I know. I
yeah.
saw. I
The only
saw.
thing I did do is I sold some of my really old Guns N' Roses stuff because people were like, oh,
Mhm.
that's $4 if you go to the Troubadour. And they're like, oh, I'll give you $100. And I'm like, here you go. Here's a piece of paper. But it was original. It wasn't like a duplicate. Yeah.
I saw the
And I
Monkeys.
had like newsletters from them, and I went to the record release party, so I sold my record release party invite, and it was on this really crappy, not completely cut straight construction paper.
I saw the Monkeys in 1997 at Candlestick Park right before a Giants game. It was three of them. Michael wasn't there. And after they were done, they drove off the field in a Cadillac. I mean, that was fantastic. And I've seen like Steppenwolf and Alice Cooper. Rush was the best concert I ever went to. That was on their farewell tour. I had just gotten out of the hospital from my accident. I was frail, I was tired and pasty, but it was worth the 3 hours I spent there.
Oh, that's good. I mean, music is definitely like laughter. I think it's very healing.
It is. It was great. They had spin cycles, laundry spin cycles on stage. They had a big old screen, and Jerry Stiller was wearing like a Heidi wig on film there, saying "Don't call me Heidi," with the pigtails. It was great. It was a great show. Do you remember your first makeout song?
Oh, gosh. I think it was Kashmir by Led Zeppelin.
Yeah, that's a typical one. Mine was Janet Jackson's "Love Will Never Do Without You."
Yeah, I was a big Zepp head, so I'm sure um, it had to have been some kind of Led Zeppelin,
You're like
which is funny because now I'm completely over them. But
You're like Brad and Stacy in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. When it comes down to making out, put on side one of Led Zeppelin 4.
oh yeah, that's right. Oh, I loved Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
The best.
There was a band out for a while called Damone. I never
Yes.
got to see them, but
Yeah,
I'd see them in the listings.
I heard. Yeah, I heard about that band, Damone. I'm like, I love it. I love it. How about comedy albums? Did you have any comedy albums growing up?
We had Reality What a Concept.
Yeah, Robin
But
Williams.
no, yeah, Robin Williams. That was the only one. I mean, I loved Eddie Murphy's Raw.
Yep.
And I've seen it quite a few times, and I still think he's just amazing.
Saltine
But
Cracker.
no, no comedy albums, really, no.
Yeah, we had Lily
Yeah,
Tomlin's This Is a Recording. I love that album.
she's funny.
Cheech and Chong's Big Bamboo. We had a Richard Pryor album, but I can't remember which one because the cover was missing. We only had the inside jacket to it. Um, but yeah, I mean, comedy was always a big part of my life. I watched the Rodney Dangerfield specials when I was a kid, like on HBO. My parents taped them. I just that formed my love of comedy early on. That and watching the Pee Wee Herman Roxy show. You know,
Oh yeah, Pee Wee Herman. Boy, he went too young too. He was
yeah.
very young.
I'm glad I got to meet him though. It was great meeting him. I spent 2 hours and 30 minutes in line with my fucked up knees from the accident, but it was well worth it just to meet him. He was wonderful, just a sweet, lovely guy.
Yeah, that whole thing with him in the porno theater was ridiculous. I'm like, what do you think people do in a porno theater?
Exactly,
But
exactly. And he was trying to figure
but they just
he was trying to figure out ways to kill the character anyways because he was so tired of playing him up to that point. Like his creation took over him, and he wanted to do other things. So it was like the timing was right in a weird way. But at least he brought him back, before he died, and he did another movie at least.
yeah, I can see where it becomes kind of like a monster in a way. It's like Marilyn Monroe created that persona and couldn't get away from it.
No. And I know,
So,
and I've interviewed people who were in acting class with her in the 50s and said she looked nothing like we know her. She was a real tomboy. She had no makeup on, she just liked, she talked normal. She liked, she was very social. She liked hanging out with the boys and stuff. It was not, what we think, she was.
yeah. I don't know. It's so sad about her too,
Yeah.
36 is way too young to go.
Yeah, she did a movie with Dean
So,
Martin at the time of her death, and I've seen clips of it. There are clips that are available of it, but it never got finished as a completed film, unfortunately.
oh yeah. Yeah. What was it called? Something's Gotta Give.
Something like that, yeah. And of course, there was a movie called Something's Got to Give with Jack Nicholson.
Yeah, I don't think they were related. I think they were like, but
No,
I liked the one with Jack Nicholson. That was funny.
yeah, I love Nicholson.
Although,
Mhm.
yeah.
I wish he was still acting. He got out when the going was good. So he got to have one more good movie that was shown in theaters, and then he got out of the business before it went to streaming. You gotta love that.
Yeah.
Here's a fun question: do you remember how old you were the first time you discovered your belly button?
Oh, I probably was a child.
Yeah,
You know,
I remember.
always been there.
Yeah, I remember me and the boys. We would just like compare them and stuff. And of course, I had a girlfriend when I was 6 who, used to show me hers and let me play with it and stuff. So yeah, it's always been. Of course, it's always been there. But early on, of course, you gotta discover it. So,
Yeah.
do you have any like comedy shows coming up? Have you been doing any comedy?
Nope, I've been working on my master's degree. The only thing is that one in LA and Burbank on February 16th. I told them I'd drive down on the 15th and stay with friends and then come back here on the 17th. But once I graduate in the middle of May, I will then go back to doing comedy.
Nice.
So, and I still get new jokes all the time.
Yeah,
They just happen. So,
I know.
yeah.
It would be
But I
so.
guess the thing to do is to keep doing your solid set of the same material over and over again, because that's what I've seen other people do. And I'm like, I thought people wanted new stuff each time I came around. And I'm like, okay, so I need to get the tight five, the tight 10,
Mhm.
and keep repeating myself, I guess, which is kind of boring, but, you know.
It would be so weird for me to go
But
back.
I still throw in new jokes here and there, though. I have to, one or
Yeah,
two.
it would be so weird for me to go back now because everybody I started with is like gone now, and I'm sure there's the regulars that are still there at Rooster Teeth Feathers and the other places and stuff, but it would be just it's like a completely different world now, And I'm sure there's a lot of heckling going on, with the wokesters going, "That's not funny, that's offensive."
I have not had that happen once.
Yeah,
So
a lot of people have
I
though.
literally did it's been a year since I've gone out and done anything, but I have yet to. And Rooster's only recently reopened.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was closed for quite a while after COVID. I was worried she wasn't going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
And she reopened about 8 months ago, something like that, maybe a year.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I missed those nights, those Wednesday nights of going to Roosters and getting up there. They were fun. But just it got kind of weird and too much for me at the end and stuff. And I left it. I left it okay. I mean, I learned a lot about life doing stand up in the Bay Area for those 10 years. It taught me an awful lot about people and human interactions and stuff like that.
Yeah. But you do have to, at least in my case, I can definitely laugh at myself. So, I mean, most of my humor, as you have seen, is directed more at me than anything else.
Mm-hmm. You're
I'll play around with the audience a little bit, but, I was at a show one time where the MC was kind of attacking the audience. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? So, needless to say, that didn't go very well.
Yeah.
You
Have,
know,
have you put up any videos yet?
I did on YouTube, but I thought, you know what, these aren't stellar, so I took them down. I
Mm-hmm.
also took down my website because I was paying for, them to be, you could join my mailing list and stuff.
Yeah.
And I wasn't getting any of the people that were on it. And I even went on a different email and signed myself up
Yeah.
because my older brother's like, yeah, I did this thing, but it's not showing me anything. And so I took the whole thing down and I'll probably start all over again. But I was going through GoDaddy and I think they were either keeping the emails for themselves to, advertise with or something, but they weren't giving them to me. So
Yeah.
it's like, all right.
Well, I'm glad that
But
you're doing so
yeah, we'll
much.
see.
I'm glad you're doing so much well. At least because during the pandemic, I saw so many people I knew just falling apart. I'm glad you didn't fall apart.
I mean, it was stressful, but my brother unfortunately did lose a friend to COVID, and I had two friends that got very ill. One was on a ventilator, but she pulled through. And the other one was also, I was going to go down to LA to say goodbye.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right before COVID hit, and they didn't know what was wrong with her. And after, like, her kidneys started failing and everything, and it was terrible. And then she pulled through.
Yeah.
But they didn't test her for COVID because it was like right before it hit. And in retrospect, we think that's what she had.
Yeah. Did you catch it?
So I finally did like around 2023, I think was when I got it.
I got it last summer.
And I was really sick. Tim got it, but he was not he was asymptomatic. I got everything, other than I could still smell and taste, but I definitely felt awful.
I got it last summer, and we threw a housewarming party for July 4th, and I knew that was a mistake. I didn't want to do it, but like my brother and my nephew's here too, and it's just like, come on, guys. And then we throw it, and the next thing you know, we're all sick, and then I catch it, and I was just, oh God, it is the worst ever. I'll tell you.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna have to wrap it up only because the kid goes on a walk at 8:30 to see her. She's a husky mix, but the neighbor has a husky,
Hmm.
and that's her boyfriend. And
Well, before I let you go,
she
I got a couple jokes for you.
okay, go for it.
What kind of meat does a priest eat on Friday?
I don't know what kind.
None.
I
What's the difference between tofu and a dildo?
don't know.
They are meat substitutes. And finally, what do you call a boy that doesn't masturbate?
I don't know what.
A liar.
Yeah, I have some of those throwaway jokes. I say it's always good to have like three throwaway jokes. So
Yeah.
Mine are a bit tamer than that, but Tim hates them anyway.
Yeah.
Usually
Well,
I'll just say the punchline just to annoy him, because I'm that kind of a wife.
yeah.
But,
Catherine, thanks for coming
yeah.
back. And this is your seventh time, by the way.
Wow. Do I get a
Yes.
jacket?
I know everyone's like asking for a T-shirt or something every time they hit a milestone coming on here. I'm seriously considering it, and if I do, I'll let you know.
Okay. But no, thank you. It's always nice to hear from you, and yeah, I love talking about the old movies and everything. That was fun.
Oh, thank you.
So you take good care, and again, sorry for all my technical issues, and yay.
Yes, you have a great night.
You too. Take care, okay?
Yes, you too. Bye bye.
All right. Bye.
Well, there you have it. Catherine Cyr, ain't she a sweetheart? Oh my God, I just friggin' love her. And I'm glad we could nerd out and also talk about some human stuff as well. And she's such a great person. I'm so glad she remembered certain things I've told her in the past, too. You never can tell, Well, then again, she's not full time in show business, so she has a better memory than most in show business. So I'm so glad we got to have that conversation, and it was fun. Well, until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying there's no shame in living in the past because the present sucks. Later, dudes!